The planet Nixara was a world of shadows and cliffs, bathed in the dim light of a distant, violet sun. Jagged mountains stretched across the horizon like broken teeth, and thick mists swirled through the valleys below. In the skies above, great creatures with wings as dark as midnight sometimes glided silently, their cries echoing through the canyons. These were the Virelians, a proud and ancient race of alien beings, nocturnal and mysterious. With eyes that shone in the dark and wings that shimmered like liquid shadow. Among them, the most powerful and revered was Seraphine, the vampire-like queen, whose very presence commanded respect and awe. Her wings were magnificent, enormous, and elegant, able to carry her at great speed across the skies. She could manipulate shadows with ease, moving unseen, striking fear into any who dared challenge her. For centuries, she had ruled Nixara with wisdom and strength, ensuring that her people lived in peace and safety until the raid came. It had been sudden, violent, and merciless. A rival alien species, known only as the Draxians, had struck Nixara without warning. Their ships descended like falling stars, and their weapons scorched the mountainsides. In the chaos of battle, Seraphine had fought fiercely, wings slicing through the air, claws tearing at attackers. But even a queen could be wounded. One of her wings had been broken by a powerful energy blast, leaving her unable to fly properly. The pain had been unbearable, and the humiliation of falling to the ground in front of her people was almost worse. Since that day, Seraphine had remained in isolation. Her wing, broken and useless, was a symbol not only of her vulnerability but also of the danger she now represented. The Virelians, proud but cautious, kept their distance. They whispered behind closed doors that she might be cursed. They said she had become unpredictable, and some even feared she would turn against them if approached. So she remained in her private chamber, dark and silent, tended only by the most loyal servants who avoided her gaze. But news of the attack had spread beyond Nixara. Humans from the Galactic Alliance had arrived in the sector, their ships hovering near the planet in observation. Among them was Captain Elias Kane, a human soldier sent to assess the damage and offer aid. Unlike the Virelians, humans did not fear what they did not understand. Elias was not naive. He had seen death and destruction on countless worlds, but he was courageous, determined, and compassionate. From the moment he stepped onto Nixara, Elias had been curious about the rumors of the Queen. Stories of a winged, vampire-like being who could dominate the night fascinated him. But what intrigued him more was that she was alone, wounded, and feared by her own people. He had seen enough isolated leaders, warriors, and rulers to know that fear often grows in the absence of understanding. Elias wanted to meet her, not to exploit her, but to help. It was late evening when he finally found her chamber. The hallway was silent, except for the soft hum of the ambient lights. Shadows clung to the walls, shifting as though alive. Elias approached slowly, careful not to startle anyone. At the end of the hall, a tall doorway opened into a large room. There, resting on a platform cushioned with soft fabrics, was Seraphine. She looked nothing like the stories told of her in whispers and legends. Her skin was pale and flawless, with a faint, shimmering glow in the dim light. Her eyes, the color of liquid gold, were sharp and aware, but clouded with pain. Her wings were folded awkwardly, one hanging limply to the side, damaged and ragged. Even in her weakened state, there was power in her presence, a quiet, undeniable force. Elias took a careful step forward. "Queen Seraphine?" he said, keeping his voice calm and respectful. She turned her gaze toward him, and he felt it like a physical weight. Her eyes were intense, studying him with suspicion. "Who dares enter my chamber?" she asked, her voice low and melodic, yet tinged with venom. "I am Captain Elias Kane of the Galactic Alliance," he replied. "I have come to help, not to harm." She raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity crossing her features. Do you know what it means to approach a wounded queen, human? Do you understand the danger? I understand danger, Elias said firmly. But I also understand courage. And I see someone who is in pain. Someone who cannot protect herself fully. I offer my hand, not my weapons. For a long moment, she studied him. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the chamber's lights and the faint rustle of her wings. She had not been approached like this in weeks, perhaps months. Most of her people avoided her entirely, fearful and unsure. And here was a human, bold enough to cross that invisible barrier of fear. Slowly, she extended one pale hand, delicate yet strong, toward him. Elias took it gently, careful not to startle her. The connection was brief but electric, a silent acknowledgement of trust forming between two very different beings. I am wounded, she said finally, her voice softer now. Not just in body, but in spirit. Many fear me, and yet I cannot escape this pain. Why do you not fear me? Fear is easy, Elias said, but courage is stronger. And I have seen too many people, human or alien, turn away when courage was needed. I do not turn away. For the first time in weeks, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Seraphine's lips. It was a fragile thing, but genuine. Perhaps you are not like the others, she whispered. Over the next several hours, Elias remained by her side. He spoke of distant human worlds, of the strange and beautiful things he had seen across the galaxy. He did not rush her, did not demand her trust, but simply shared his presence. And in the quiet moments, Seraphine began to feel something she had not felt in a long time. A connection. A sense that not all beings in the galaxy sought to harm her. When the first faint light of Nyxara's twin moons filtered into the chamber, Seraphine had allowed him to inspect her wings carefully. He did not touch without permission, and she guided his hands to assess the damage. Elias nodded thoughtfully. It is bad, he said gently. But it can heal, if you allow it. And I can help you, if you will let me. Her golden eyes studied him for a long moment, weighing his words. No one has dared to touch me since the raid, she said softly. And no one has dared to speak to me like this. Yet you, she paused, searching for the right words. You do not flinch. Why? Because I see you, Elias said simply. Not just the broken wing, not just the title or the legend. For the first time, Seraphine felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps there was more to courage than physical strength. Perhaps there was more to healing than magic or medicine. Perhaps a human soldier could teach a queen that trust and bravery are powerful weapons in themselves. By the end of the night, Seraphine allowed Elias to remain by her side. She did not speak much, but she listened. And in that listening, the first thread of trust was woven between them. As he left her chamber to return to his own quarters, Elias looked back once more. The queen, so feared and isolated, remained silent but observant. Her wings rested awkwardly at her sides, but her eyes, golden and bright, followed him with cautious interest. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. The Draxians still threatened Nyxara, and her people were too afraid to step forward. But one human soldier had crossed the barrier. One human soldier had reached a wounded queen. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was the beginning of something that could change everything. And somewhere deep within her, Seraphine felt a small, fragile spark. Nyxara's skies were filled with distant thunderclouds, and the jagged cliffs cast long shadows over the valleys below. Seraphine, the queen of the Virelians, remained in her chamber, wings carefully wrapped in silken bandages. Though the pain in her body had not fully faded, it was the loneliness and fear in her heart that weighed most heavily. Her people continued to avoid her. Even her most loyal advisors moved with nervous steps, whispering to one another and glancing toward her with suspicion. Captain Elias Kane, however, did not falter. Each day, he returned to her chamber, bringing food, clean water, and a quiet presence that made her uneasy at first. He did not rush her to speak, nor did he force his help upon her. He merely sat and waited, sometimes reading reports from the Alliance, sometimes speaking softly about distant planets and human worlds. "You are patient," Seraphine said one evening, her golden eyes studying him with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Most fear to linger near me. They fear my power, or what they believe remains of it." "I have seen enough battles," Elias replied, leaning forward slightly. "I know what true power is, not what others think you have. True power is courage, and the courage to face fear, even in yourself." Her lips curved in a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Perhaps you are different, human. But still, you do not know me, nor my people. How can you understand courage here?" "I understand it by seeing it," Elias said, "and I see it in you. You fought when others ran. You stood even after being wounded. That is courage. Queen Seraphine, I do not fear you, because I see who you are, not just what you are." The queen was silent for a long moment, watching the human. There was a strange clarity in his eyes, a sense of honesty and determination that she had not encountered in centuries. Most beings either approached her with fear or ambition, trying to gain something from her weakness. Elias, however, approached without demand or expectation. Slowly, Seraphine began to allow him closer to her. At first, it was small gestures permitting him to touch her injured wing lightly, letting him bring a bowl of water without snapping at him. Then, she began to ask questions, curious about humans and their strange ways. "Your species is different," she said one night, her voice quiet and thoughtful. "You are fragile in body compared to Virelians, yet you dare to come near someone who could destroy you in an instant." Elias smiled faintly. "Fragile? Perhaps. But humans endure. We survive, not because of strength alone, but because of hope, creativity, and courage. We do not always have wings to fly, yet we find ways to rise. You, too, will rise, Queen Seraphine, if you allow yourself." The queen's gaze softened. No one had spoken to her like this before. Her people would bow and whisper, but never confront the truth of her pain. Elias, a stranger from another world, saw the woman beneath the legend, and he did so without fear. Over the next several days, Elias began to assist her in practical ways. He taught her exercises to strengthen the muscles around her broken wing, demonstrating simple stretches and motions. He offered suggestions for keeping her spirits up, speaking of human determination and survival, even in the harshest conditions. At first, Seraphine was resistant. The pain in her wing made movement difficult, and old pride kept her from relying too much on anyone. But she could not deny the careful attention Elias gave her. He never rushed her. He never pushed her beyond her limits. And slowly, the queen began to trust him, not fully, but enough to allow him a small role in her recovery. One evening, as the violet sun dipped behind Nixara's jagged peaks, Elias helped her stand near the chamber's large observation window. Below them, the valleys were shrouded in mist, the cliffs casting long, dark shadows. "Look at it," Elias said softly. "The world is still here. You are still here. And your wings, they are not gone. They will carry you again." Seraphine's eyes filled with a flicker of emotion. She flexed the damaged wing carefully, wincing at the pain. "I have not flown since the attack," she admitted. I thought I would never rise again." "You will rise," Elias said firmly. "I will help you, but you must want it too." She studied him for a long moment. No one had ever spoken to her like this, no one had ever believed in her when she doubted herself. For the first time, she felt a sense of possibility. Perhaps her broken wing was not the end. Perhaps courage, not fear, could guide her forward. That night, she allowed Elias to remain by her side as she slept, a simple act of trust that warmed her own heart in ways she had not expected. And in his presence, she began to imagine the possibility of rising above her fear and isolation. But the peace was fragile. On the third day of Elias's visits, a warning arrived from the outer sentinels. The Draxians were returning. Their ships, black and angular, pierced the atmosphere with ominous precision. Nyxara would face another assault, and the Queen, still wounded, could not rely solely on her people for defense. Seraphine's eyes narrowed as she gazed at the approaching ships. Fear flickered among her people, but Elias remained calm. He approached her once more, kneeling beside her on the observation platform. "We can prepare," he said. "You may be wounded, but you are not powerless. Together, we can plan a defense, and your people, they will follow if they see courage in action." Her lips pressed together. "Do you truly believe my people will fight for me, human?" "I do," he said simply. "They will follow someone who leads with courage, not fear. And they will see courage in you, if you let it shine." For hours, they worked together. Elias drew maps of the valleys, pointing out choke points, high ground, and areas where the Draxians' ships might be vulnerable. He suggested formations that combined human tactics with Virelian abilities, emphasizing mobility, stealth, and strategic strikes. Seraphine listened, absorbing every word, adding her own insights about her people's strengths and limitations. In those hours, something remarkable happened. Seraphine felt not only the spark of hope, but also the thrill of planning, of preparing, of asserting control over the coming chaos. For the first time since her injury, she felt like a queen again, not merely a wounded figure, hidden behind shadows. The bond between Elias and Seraphine deepened as well. She allowed him to approach her closely, to touch her wing to examine its healing. She asked him questions about human battle strategies, about courage, about loyalty. In turn, Elias asked her about her culture, her people, and the powers she had yet to fully trust. "You are remarkable," Elias said one evening, as the twin moons of Nyxara rose in the sky. "Not just for your powers, but for your will. You could have given up, and your people might have abandoned you. Yet here you are, planning, fighting, surviving. That is real strength." Seraphine felt warmth rise in her chest, a feeling she had not experienced in a long time. Perhaps it was admiration. Perhaps it was gratitude. Or perhaps it was something more, a quiet recognition that two beings from different worlds could understand and support each other in ways that surpassed fear and prejudice. The next morning, she tested her wing again. Slowly, carefully, she lifted it and flexed the muscles. Pain flared, but Elias was there, steadying her, encouraging her. "You can do this," he said softly. "One step at a time, one movement at a time. Trust yourself." Seraphine inhaled, her golden eyes fixed on the horizon. She stretched her wing further, then folded it back. It was not perfect, far from it, but the first small victory had been won. As they left the observation platform, the distant hum of Draxian ships grew louder. The threat was real, imminent, and terrifying. But for the first time in weeks, Seraphine felt prepared, and not alone. Elias had crossed the barrier that no Virelian dared to cross. He had earned her trust, not through power or intimidation, but through courage, patience, and understanding. And Seraphine, the queen of a proud and ancient race, had begun to see that help could come from the most unexpected of places. The battle for Nyxera was coming. But together, Queen and human soldier, they would face it. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would rise stronger than before.